Good evening, fellow Roslindalians. My name is Steve Gay. Thank you. I'm the president of Roslindale Village Main Street. I'm pleased to be joined on the stage by all 8 of the candidates for the District 5 race that's going on. Now, let me tell you this. This is the last time you're going to be allowed to clap, okay? Because we have a lot of questions we want to get in. And now, Glenn, who's here to remind me of how to speak into a mic. Thank you, Glenn. So, also with us on the stage is Wayne Braverman, who's the managing editor at Gatehouse Media, and Wayne will moderate tonight's forum. So thank you, Wayne, for being here. Can't clap, sorry, at the end. So we're very pleased to be sponsoring this event with the Roslindale Transcript and also with several partner organizations in Roslindale. And I'm going to list these, and then if there are people who are from those organizations, feel free to stand. Friends of the Roslindale Library, Greater Roslindale Medical and Dental Center, Greening Rosy, Roslindale Board of Trade, Roslindale Community School Council, which is the Roslindale Community Center, and St. Nectario's Greek Orthodox Church. Thanks to the church for allowing us to be here tonight. And then a small group of us have been working on this, believe it or not, for about 8 weeks. And again, if you're in the crowd and you want to stand up, please do. Kelly Bates, Wayne Beitler, Lucy Galvin, Laura Gang, Amy Gitlin, Karen Payne, and Jamie Pullick. Thank you. It's been great to work with you all. I'm glad this is done tonight. And a special thank you to Glenn Williams, as I mentioned, our sound engineer, and of course, grew up and has been here for all of his life and has done wonderful things for us. Bob Ward, who's I like to call him our videographer. And the forum will be able to be seen hopefully tomorrow on the RVMS YouTube channel. So we'll send out a note about that, and it should be easy for you to find. And before I hand the forum over to Wayne to moderate, I wanted to make a few quick announcements. So, as you all know, the preliminary will be held on September 24th, and the final will be held on November 5th. If you haven't registered yet, you're out of luck for the preliminary, but you still have time to register for the final, and the deadline on that is October 16th. And we do have some registration cards out on the front desk. So if you are not registered, you better, by golly, get registered. There's another District 5 candidate forum, so if you don't get enough of these wonderful candidates tonight, head over to the Mattapan on the 16th, which is Monday from 6 to 8 at the Mattahunt Wheelock Community Center. And now for the truly important items. We ran a contest in our email newsletter asking folks to tell us about elected officials who, when they were serving in their office, were also living in Roslindale. And I must say, we don't have many political junkies out there. We didn't get that many folks submitting. And the one who won only came up with 2, but that was pretty good. Carl Hokinson, I know, is Carl here? Carl is the winner. And Carl named correctly former state rep Mark Grayson. And I don't know, Marcus still lives in Roslindale, great guy. He's not here tonight. And deceased at-large city councilor Dapper O'Neill. So Carl will win $25 in Rozzy bucks. If you don't know what those are, ask me afterwards. And my list is the following, and I'm sure that other people will have some other names to add. Dapper O'Neill, Mark Grayson, Michael Connolly, who was the Secretary of State and is the father of John Connolly. Kelly Timilty, thanks to Dennis Kirkpatrick for coming up with that, who was on the Governor's Council, and any others I missed. People who lived in Roslindale while they served in an elected office. And now the reason why I brought this up is that not many of us Roslindalians have been in elected office. So we need to get off our butts and get elected. So I want to... What's that? I'm not going to run. How about you? You would be a great candidate. So anyway, finally, Taste of Roslindale is coming up, and this is our annual fundraiser. Great food from local restaurants, 17th of October. And Christina Delicio, where are you, Christina? and I and other board members here can answer your questions about that and can sell you tickets. So put that on your calendar. And now I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to hand it over to Wayne from the Gatehouse Media, and he's going to take it from here. Thanks very much, Wayne.
By the way, the Taste of Roslindale, if you're thinking of running, becoming that Roslindale person that's going to run in 2 years, great place to launch your campaign. People are happier when they're eating, so great place to garner those very early votes. Pleasure to be with you tonight. We have a lot to do. Don't want to spend a lot of time talking to get to it. Few rules. If you have your cell phone, please turn it off, because otherwise we have to end up listening to a variety of different themes and other assorted things, and it's not really fair to the candidates. So please turn it off, and you can get your calls later on in the evening. Also, no clapping, no cheering during the comments that the candidates will make. In terms of the order of speaking, we will begin in alphabetical order by last name, and after that we're going to slide down one, and so everybody except for one person will get a chance to go first at some point during the evening. The candidates will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement, and they'll also have 2 minutes to give a closing statement. In between that time, we'll have probably time for 5 questions, and they will be given a minute and a half to answer those questions. And just as a reminder for the candidates, we have Amy who's holding cards. Raise your hand. Oh, she's got her holding up her cards. And you'll get a card when there's 15 seconds left. And then you'll get the red card, which is your cue to end your sentence, so we can move on and get in a lot of questions tonight. 3 of the questions we already have. 2 of the questions came from you. I don't have those yet, but I will. But we're ready to get started, and we're going to go to opening statements, 2 minutes for each candidate, and we're going to start with Ava.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me okay? All right, good morning. My name is Ava Callender, and I'm the candidate for Boston City Council District 5. I'm a lifelong resident of this district. I actually grew up here, born and raised. I'm also a part of 4 generations from this area, and grew up in a home with my grandmother, who was formerly the state representative, Willie Mae Allen. I actually started being really engaged in the community at a young age. I started off actually following her around most of the time, really going to polling locations, going to civic association meetings, and really getting involved and learning the importance of being engaged in my community. I went to all Boston public schools. I attended the Elihu Greenwood Elementary School, the William Barton Rogers Middle School, and Boston Latin Academy. So during my time at Boston Latin Academy, I was the youth representative of the Mayor's Youth Council. I was a member of the City of Boston's Voting Task Force, and also a member of the BPS School Health Advisory Council. I attended school in Charlotte, North Carolina. I went to Johnson C. Smith University, but during that time I also returned back and forth to Boston, and I worked with the Massachusetts Democratic Party as a diversity intern. After completing that, I was mentored by City Councilor Ayanna Presley, and went on to work at the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office, where I worked as a victim witness advocate. My job there was to advocate for victims of crimes, to help them navigate through the court system and really help them understand what they can and cannot do, and really be that advocate, that person that they can lean on when things weren't going right, and being that person they can call when things weren't okay. So a lot of my platform has been a concentration of public safety and violence prevention, and a particular focus on domestic violence issues, because the majority of my caseload was domestic violence victims. I am currently an evening law student at New England Law Boston, and I'm still studying there, and I still reside in Mattapan right now. So the reason why I'm before you today is because of the combination of my 2 experiences, both professionally and personally. So just growing up, being born and raised in this community, and really loving where I am from, and wanted to give back and contribute and continue to advocate for all of us within this room. So thank you so much for having me.
Margarita.
Thank you, and it really says a lot. I want to thank everyone for coming, and also for the organizer of this event. My name is Margarita Champacoin. I'm a Bostonian, born and raised. I've lived in this city for over 40 years, 2 years away. I grew up in Fields Corner, Dorchester, where I learned from my parents to advocate, to serve. I have a business background. I believe that my business experience makes me results-driven, and I believe that people should expect more from their elected officials. My platform is part of that, engaging the community, but also working with private entity partnerships. I'm the proud parent of 3 children, recent Boston Latin School and CM grads. I have volunteered for domestic violence. I'm a former board member and current gala committee member for Dove Inc. Our next gala is October 24th. I expect people to attend. I also am a financial literacy volunteer. I did that at Hyde Park High through Operation Hope. I believe that the role of a city councilor is to advocate for you. That's something I can do. I can do it effectively. My job included working with private entity partnerships, reaching out to municipalities, making sure that those in the community were heard. It's something that I do well. I'm confident I can do the job for you. I ask for your vote on the 24th.
Thank you. Andrew.
Just want to say good evening. My name is Andrew Casino. I'm running for City Council in District 5. I'd like to thank the Roslindale Village Main Street for putting this event together and all that they've done for Roslindale. I look out in the crowd, I recognize many faces from either working across the street at Belgrade Auto, delivering food to your house from MJ's, and I've gone to school with many of your children, actually. I'm very active right now in the Roslindale Day Parade Committee. The parade's on October 6th, by the way, this year. And I also work with Ethos, which is a program out of Jamaica Plain that works with the elderly in the area, which is a very rewarding thing that I get to do. I currently work a full-time evening shift as a Boston Special Officer at Georgetown Homes for Longwood Security. Per order of Boston Police Rule 400, Boston Special Officers have police authority within limited jurisdiction. My current job is to solve problems that residents have, and I think that's a big thing that City Council needs to do, is solve problems. I'm hoping you'll consider me on Election Day. Thank you.
And Patrice.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Patrice Catozzi, and I'm running for Boston City Council District 5 because I want to serve the community that I call home. I live in Hyde Park. I've been there for 20 years. I am married to Joe for 22 years, and we have 2 children. Michael, who's 20, and he's in college and at work tonight, and Matthew, who's 17, and he's studying tonight. So we like I said, we've lived in Hyde Park for 20 years, and when we got there, people said, you shouldn't move to Boston because of the schools, and we said, no, we'll make a difference. And both of our boys went to Boston Public Schools, and I began to work in the schools. I volunteered. I helped convert the Roosevelt to a K-8 school. I was on the site council, was a president for a year, and I also taught. I have a degree in education. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm the 5th of 6 children, and we were raised by a single mom due to divorce. And my mother really taught us the value of education and hard work. And when I moved east to study historic preservation, it was great, but then young and single, I wanted to move to Boston. And I did, and it was fun. So I've been able to make a life here for myself. But through the times in, I've worked for private organizations. I taught computer software. I've also worked for nonprofits. For the last 5 years, I've been the director of Hyde Park Main Streets, and I've had the experience of working with businesses, small businesses, property owners, residents, and organizations. So I think I have a perspective of the community and what you need. Thank you.
Timothy.
Good evening. My name is Tim McCarthy. I was born and raised in Hyde Park. I still live there. I can throw a baseball in my dad's backyard where I grew up. I'm married to Maureen McCarthy, also from Hyde Park, and I've got 2 boys, teenagers, Dolan and Garrett. You may have seen them knocking on your doors at some point in time this year. They're both at Catholic Memorial High School. I attended Catholic Memorial High School myself. I then went on to Curry College. I graduated magna cum laude. I was in the Alexander Graham Bell Society. I then went to Harvard University School of Business, where I have a certificate in program and management development. I'm now presently a student at Suffolk University getting my master's degree in public administration. 1993, City Councilor Tom Menino assigned me to you. 1993, I was Roslindale's neighborhood coordinator. And way back then, Roslindale Village Main Street was not Roslindale Village Main Street. It was indeed Rossi Square. And 20 years ago, for the people who have been in Rossi for all these years, 20 years ago, if I told you that there'd be an hour wait to a restaurant, you would have told me that I was crazy. Well, I tell you that it's not crazy. Roslindale Village Main Street is the epitome of what Main Street should be. The program started under Tom Menino, and when Tom Menino became mayor, he injected that program with steroids, and it became a monster. And it is the epitome of what all Main Streets can be. It's compared to every single Main Streets in the entire city. I know I cover them now as a Boston Public Works person when we're dealing with walkthroughs with all of the 19 business districts. So I understand the situation. My first meeting ever was the Roslindale, the Longfellow School was my first meeting ever. The building was boarded up and locked. We had to cut the locks to go in. We had to dodge the raccoons and the squirrels. And 7 or 8 years later, Roslindale House was built. So where am I going with this? I'm not new to Roslindale. I've been here for you since 1993, and I will continue to be here for you when I'm your District 5 City Councilor. We're going to have a new mayor in a couple weeks. Now is not the time to learning on the job.
Thank you. Jean-Claude.
Good afternoon, Roslindale. Bonsoir, buenas tardes, luna respect. My name is Jean-Claude Seno, candidate for District 5 City Council, the only French name on the ballot and the number 2 on the ballot. It is a privilege for me to be here with you tonight at this forum, and I want to thank all the organizers for putting this together. I've been married for 33 years to my wife Michelle, and we have 5 adult children and 1 grandchild. I now reside at 11 Rexford Street in Mattapan. I'm the only candidate that has lived in 3 parts of the district. I've lived in Mattapan, Hyde Park, and Roslindale. I was born in Haiti. That makes me also the only immigrant in the race as well, who speaks 4 languages. I have been living in Boston since 1975, where I arrived at the age of 16. I'm a graduate of Boston English High School, a product of the Boston Public School. Then I went on to Newberry College in Brookline and graduated with a degree in computer science. I have also attended the University of Massachusetts, Cambridge College, Suffolk University, Bentley College, and Northeastern University for courses and training seminars in various fields such as English, real estate, history, teaching, marketing, and as well as real estate, law, management. After more than 2 decades in the American firms and Haitian social institutions, I have directed my own Avant-Garde, a multi-service company providing marketing, real estate interpretation, translations, and loads of other, including immigration services and others. To be short, I have created 2 businesses in Hyde Park. I have also created 2 businesses in Mattapan for the past 30 years. The daily contact with the most vulnerable and the new immigrant allows me to assess the real problems of this district that requires a leader to represent everyone without no exceptions to the rule. When elected in November, I will be the first Haitian American to be a part of the local government of Boston, and will certainly ask for your vote coming up September 24th. Thank you.
Mimi.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? My name is Mimi Turchinets, and I, too, am a candidate for District 5 City Council. Thank you so much for being here on the night that there's a Patriots game. And everybody is going to try not to rush out, right? Thank you, Steve Gagg and the board of Roslindale Village Main Street. And thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. I am a child of immigrant parents. My folks came to this country seeking economic opportunity. They're from Winnipeg, Manitoba. My dad is Ukrainian, so he was first-generation Canadian. I'm a first-generation Bostonian. I am a child of 2 very strong parents. My mom's no longer with us. My dad is living in assisted living and going through some tough times right now, so I had a little rough time today. So excuse me if I get a little cuckoo, a little emotional. I'm an attorney and have been a community organizer. I went to UMass Amherst. I came back to Boston. I was born in Hyde Park, learned organizing and the ethos of social justice and economic justice through my mom and my family. Did civil rights work and desegregation work with my mother. went to UMass Amherst, moved back to Boston, did community organizing and public housing, went to law school, had the opportunity to serve under Ralph Martin after getting him elected when he was running for his first historic DA's race, was an assistant DA in Suffolk County, went from the DA's office to the State House, worked for the administration for 15 years. I'm a proven leader, I'm a problem solver, I'm passionate, committed, have lived in Roslindale, have an own homeowner in Hyde Park, very much want to serve you, and am here to build coalitions and to collaborate. Thank you.
Michael.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. My name is Michael Wells, and I'm running for City Council. I appreciate you all being here and having me. I live on Cedars Ave, have done so for the past 10 years. I graduated from Catholic Memorial and went on to Fitchburg State College. I have a couple jobs currently. I work at Fenway Park and with the John Nagel Company in South Boston. They are a sea-fueled wholesaler. I started in inventory control and have moved on to sales. When I moved on to sales, I needed to find a new beginning. What did I do? I listened to my customers and reacted. I saw people who were coming in, buying one thing and leaving, found out what they wanted, what more can I do for them? I did so. That is something that I can do here for you. I will listen to you, react to your requests, and find a solution. I ask you for your vote. Thank you very much for coming.
And now we move on to the question portion of the evening. We'll have 5 questions. Candidates will have a minute and a half to answer those questions. And here is question 1. Given that Boston has a strong mayor form of government, and given the importance of ensuring fiscal stability and maintaining our high bond rating, what are your 3 top priorities as a city councilor, and how will you realistically achieve them? And we start with Margarita.
Well, that's a great question. I think part of the fiscal responsibility comes with the reality that there are finite resources that we have in the city right now. And people, as a city councilor, my goal would be to take a serious look at programs that work and programs that don't. I believe the role of the city councilor is you have to have a conscious understanding of how policy and programming decisions impact future generations. I also believe that providing frequent communication and consultation with organized interest community groups and those constituents who are undefined, excluded, or sort of marginalized, we need to speak for all of those. So with the finite resources that we have, I think we as taxpayers have to really decide where our funding is going. If programs don't work, they should be eliminated. I mean, there's no sense throwing good money after bad. I think that, you know, even as a parent, as a business person, my job was to get the most beneficial and most effective use of dollars spent. That's the same thing that should be done in our municipalities as well.
Andrew.
I don't want to lose time, so I'll say right off the bat, my first 3 things that I have are city spending, education, and public safety. With city spending, as Margarita has said, if there's programs that aren't working, they definitely need to be revisited and see what we can do about that. One of my concerns is that the cost of a citywide election costs over $500,000. We have a citywide election every 2 years for city councilor. It's usually a very low turnout, and the incumbent usually wins. If we can stretch that out to a 4-year term to run concurrent with the mayor, that's $500,000 that can go towards other things, such as the schools, public safety, substance abuse, things to that extent. Education, I agree with Patrice that our schools can definitely move forward. I'm a big advocate for trade schools. Some people are great with books, some people are good with their hands, and they want to build that rocking chair to bring home. Another thing that is big for me is the public safety. There's no doubt in this room, unfortunately, Mattapan is preceded by its name, that it's a violent area. And it's really not as bad as everybody makes it sound. And I think if we can bring more police on to help more public policing, community policing, I think that will be a big help.
Patrice.
Thank you. As I've listened to a lot of the mayoral candidates, they've each said that they would do a top-down, bottom-up review of all the departments, which I think is very necessary at this time. And I think there will be lots of places that we will find that we can cut, even at a percentage level. But my three priorities are safety, education, and small businesses. And I think in education, one of my main concerns is the money that we use to transport children all over the city. And I want, as a policy change, to bring more neighborhood schools or closer to, so that we can reduce that busing transportation cost, which is $101 million this year. And if we can do that every year, we could even put $25 million if we reduced it even 3/4 or 1/4. So I think that would bring resources into the schools. So I really believe that we do need safety and housing along as well, because there are a lot of parcels of land that need to be sold and developed, which will bring jobs, and which will really help bring income into the city. So with that, I would really just think that it's time to review what we've already had so far. Thank you.
And now we move on to Tim.
You are correct in saying that there is a strong mayor system, but there is a city council that needs to have a voice. And it's very important that the next mayor, he or she, needs to know that there's a District 5 city councilor who will demand what this district needs. First and foremost, District 5 city councilor needs to focus on fiscal discipline. Detroit, as you probably know, is bankrupt. Chicago just got triple downgraded their bond rating. They're borrowing to pay for their public school teachers. Boston doesn't necessarily need to be that far away from that. I'm pretty sure that Chicago didn't think they'd be in that position. But somebody somewhere along the line thought that they could take the keys to a very good economy and take it for a spin. And they took it for a spin, and now they're spinning. Tom Menino is going to hand over a AAA bond rating and a rainy day fund to the next mayor. It's imperative that the city council make sure that the fiscal discipline is kept. Secondly, the increase of basic city services. 1993, then Councilor Tom Menino told me a long time ago, when people look out their front door, it's what they see is what's most important. That was the platform of his 20 years, the urban mechanic. If you look outside your window and you don't see what you like, you leave. That's not good for us. And third, and very important, is the focus on solid neighborhood schools. Just speaking to people coming in here, nothing drives us crazier is when you're driving down Washington Street and there's a bus that has 44 seats and has 4 kids in it.
Okay, let's move on to Jean-Claude.
When I ran back as a city councilor in 2009, one of the questions that was very often asked of me is that we don't have any power at all over a city council. Becoming a city councilor, you almost don't have that much of a control. So I'm not going to dream and think that this is what we're going to realize. But however, I intended to make allies with a lot of the other city councilors and trying to prove in the fact that we can, together as a body, really make some changes. I support the balanced approach by increasing, the ability of cutting our deficit, certainly, and seeking from you what best method to really use to come up with solutions that will be in your best interest. My key element, certainly, that I'm going to be fighting for, and I've been a fighter for the past 30 years, I'll continue being a fighter, representing the folks is nothing but a servant job. So therefore, I'm going to take commands from you, and I'm going to bring them back inside City Hall and try to fight for you. When it comes to education, it's one of my forte that I'd love to see some good changes being taking place. Safety is another one, and jobs creation is certainly another platform that I'm interested. I want to see a fair equities being done into the city as far as how the distribution is being made in terms of revenue. That is the guy that you are sending in who's going to fight for you for that purpose. Thank you.
Mimi.
So the question is a little interesting because you suggest the strong mayoral and fiscal responsibility. And so I'm going to say some of the stuff based on those issues too. My first priority is economic development and job creation. So here in Roslindale, the Roslindale Main Streets in downtown is just doing great, but Hyde Park, not so much. Mattapan, not as great. We have a lot of empty storefronts in Hyde Park, and we're really at a time that we need to expand some pockets of excellence and develop some of the strategies that are working and really expand them. There's $8 billion that's available potentially through linkage. So we need to look at economic development strategies for the whole district. The other thing that I want to do when I go into City Hall is look at the city budget and look at the issue of disparities and comparable worth. How is it that some school bus monitors are not making a living wage? Why is it that the librarians are not making the kind of money that other folks are making? Do we have issues of comparable worth? Are women making less? We don't know. We need to look at that. So looking at it reasonably and economically feasible to make sure that people are paid a decent wage. The other thing too is constituent services. I want to step in the shoes of Councilor Consalvo, make sure that all of these communities, Hyde Park, Roslindale, Mattapan, and Reedville, all are given the strongest and zealous advocacy and constituent services that you deserve.
Michael.
That we deserve.
Thank you. So to address fiscal responsibility, first off, there's no room for waste. All right. A couple examples out there right now. Washington Street. They're tearing it up. They're repaving it. Do we really need to do that? Is there money there? There's all kinds of different departments, and they have budgets. Are they using their money wisely? Can we see if we can get a little bit more out of them? Not so much as more out of the money they're spending, but perhaps some of their money back. A lot of departments, they get a budget, they want to spend it all. Did they need to spend it all? Could they give it to another department that needed some? That's something I'd like to see. Contracts to our public servants. Now, don't get me wrong. I like policemen, I like firemen, I like teachers. They all do great jobs for us. But we got to make sure that the contracts that we write for them are affordable to us. You know, we can't give away the store. Finally, a great way to have fiscal responsibility is to actually increase revenue for the city. And how do we do that? Through the businesses in here. We cut regulation, we cut the red tape, make it easier for our businesses to make a dollar so they can pay a tax dollar to us. Thank you.
And the last word on this question goes to Ava.
Thank you. So fiscal responsibility, I think the first measure that needs to happen is really identifying what works. Identifying the programs that have worked, identifying the school systems that have worked, and then learning from that. Not necessarily eliminating those programs, but what my focus has been is about public safety, youth development, and education. And on the public safety component of that, I have a criminology degree. As I said before, I was a former victim witness advocate, and I'm a current law school student now. So what I wanted to do, and it's what I thought would be better for this entire community, was really about enhancing community policing. We have some good community policing that's happening now in Mattapan and B3 also, but it's about really implementing it in a way that's really visible for the rest of the community and having more of a partnership between the police officers and the residents of District 5. So that they see the officers, you know these people by name, and that they're there when you need them and you know who to call. So I think that's really important to assist us, and so that you know who you're talking to and you're more comfortable approaching police officers when there is an issue or when something's happening in the community. Another thing is about youth development, and with that youth development component, I would like to see more apprenticeship and internship programs, and also partnership between the local universities and colleges for the students. So it's two components. One is for that avenue when there are students who don't necessarily want to go the college route, and also for the college students who do want to continue, the high school students who do want to continue and go on to college. So thank you so much.
And now we move on to question number 2. Roslindale Village Main Street was the first urban Main Street program in America when it was started back in 1985 by then District City Councilor Thomas M. Menino. Boston now has 19 Main Street programs, and they help bring needed resources to small businesses and vitality to our communities. Here's the question. What will you do as City Councilor to maintain the Roslindale and Boston Main Street programs, and will you support a commercial linkage fund that would require new downtown commercial developments to provide linkage payments for local business district improvements? And we start this round with Andrew.
One of the big things that I would try to do with the main streets is not only just bring any businesses in, but businesses in that the community is going to need. That way they can plant their feet, they can stay there for a while, be of service to the community, and also bring jobs into our community. The second part of the question is, will I support?
Will you support commercial linkage fund that would be used to provide linkage payments for local business district improvements?
I can't lie, I'm not really too sure of an answer for that question. It is something I would like to look more into before I can give a straightforward answer in front of everybody.
Okay, Patrice.
Great, thank you. You know, I've been part of the Main Streets program. Actually, I was a volunteer before I started working at the Main Streets when it first started in Hyde Park. And then I've been there for 10 years. And I've seen a lot of great work from that. I was actually privileged to go to 6 different Main Street conferences and see how people work around the country. And certainly Boston does set the pace as far as an urban Main Streets. I think that the question was, yes, I would totally support Boston Main Streets. And there are 20 now. Actually, Mattapan now has a Main Streets district, and I'm very, very hopeful about that. Mattapan has very few vacancies, if any, in their district, and I think that we can use that money and they'll see some great improvements visually. But one of the things that I think as a Main Streets, I think we each need a pool of money. I think sometimes we're all trying to jockey for that pool of money, and I think that as a counselor, I would really make sure that every district had a certain amount where you as a community could decide what you want to do with it. And I had not heard that idea about the linkage, but I think it's a very good one to really to pursue and to look up, because that wasn't a discussion that we had ever had. But I absolutely support the Main Streets program.
And now we go to Tim.
In 1993, when I was the neighborhood coordinator for Roslindale, Greg Laham was the president way back when. There's been many presidents since then. Clearly, Roslindale Square, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, has become, really the epitome of what Main Streets should be. I would have to say that you wouldn't have a more staunch supporter of Main Streets in District 5 than me. In 1996, when I was the Youth Fund Director, I petitioned Tom Menino to put on the mural crew on a full-time basis. We did, in one of our first murals that still remains in the square. A joy for the square is the windows mural. There's a long story behind that. I only have 1:50, so if you want to hear the story, you're going to have to wait till later. But Roslindale Village Main Street's just hired Christina. I worked with Christina on the mobile food truck committee. She's phenomenal. It just seems like one person after another who takes into that spot is an incredibly hard worker and gets it. The linkage package, yes. Here's the issue. Roslindale Square, just like any square, you have about a third of the owners who really, really care, about a third of the owners who kind of care, not that much, and you've got a third of the owners who really don't care at all. They take their money from you and they go to Westwood or Dover or wherever they live. The linkage has to be very specific. You want to reward people who are rewarding the neighborhood now, not give them rewards for doing nothing over the last 20 years.
Thank you. Oh, just as a reminder, candidates get 1:30, not 1:50. We're not tossing in an extra 20 seconds.
Take 20 out of you.
Nope, I caught that. Jean-Claude, your turn.
The mayor have asked me to work with the MEDI, the Mattapan Economic Development, and this is where today you're counting the 20th Main Street. With all our efforts and the study around it, we finally put it together and it's coming along fine. I do believe as a servant, your role is to provide what the people want. And you have to consult with them most often so that you can really bring about what they are seeking for. Supporting the blanket, if it's the desire of District 5 to do so, I will certainly stand by it and do as I'm supposed to do. And I guarantee you, I will work together with you in terms of accomplishing your wishes, not simply mine. Thank you.
Mimi.
So yes, I will support the continued funding and expansion of Main Streets. in Roslindale and all the 20 main streets in the city. In terms of linkage, I mean, I think that one of the things that we need to look at is the current linkage formula. So there is a current linkage formula. There's money that comes in from the large buildings. It goes into Neighborhood Jobs Trust, and that trust is managed through the Office of Jobs and Community Services. The formula hasn't changed in many, many years, so part of the thing that I want to look at is how to recraft and repurpose that formula. Want to have some of that money come directly into the neighborhoods. Not sure what this specific commercial linkage fund strategy is. I think that we need to look at how to think through all of the linkage dollars. There's lots and lots of money coming through the BRA. There's a lot of expansion, a lot of new dollars coming into linkage, so those resources should be coming directly into the neighborhoods. So that does appear to be a good idea, and I would support that.
Michael.
Thank you. The linkage payments, it's a good idea. If you want to be in Roslindale Square, if you want to benefit financially for your business to be here, I think you should have to pay for this. I would hope that this would be something the business will be willing to do. Whether or not we can strong arm them into doing so, I'm not sure. It's a great idea. I'm just not sure if it's actually even legal. I would like to look into this issue a little bit more, but I would support it. Thank you.
And back down the other end of the table for Ava.
Thank you. So I absolutely support the Main Streets program. I think that it's done a fabulous job here, especially in Roslindale. Roslindale is the example. You have a thriving commercial district here, and it's something that we would love to see in Hyde Park and in Mattapan as well. As far as the linkage program, I think that it is a good idea, but my main concern is about having transparency. And that's something that I've talked about throughout my campaign. It's all about understanding where it's coming from, who the money's going to, and how the money's being used. So I think as long as the people in this district and the residents here are aware of what's happening, I think that I would absolutely support it. So I'm all about the Main Streets program, and even being here on the Saturdays, I understand what's happened here in Roslindale, and we have it in Mattapan now as well, but Roslindale is definitely something that has served as an example for the rest, so thank you.
Margarita.
I certainly support Main Street's programming. I don't know who up here would say they don't. But I guess the issue for me on Main Streets is, I think, especially from Hyde Park, you really want to make sure that the businesses that are part of that program, for lack of a better word, are vetted. You certainly do not want to crush anyone's dream. If you want to have a business and you want to open it up in Main Street and Hyde Park, more power to you. But what I've seen happen is folks who maybe were better served not understanding the demographics of the area, not understanding that maybe this is better as a website-based product. They come in, they fail. And what happens when they fail, the neighborhood then looks at this as a business district that doesn't serve the community well. A potential merchant looks at it as, you know what, this guy fails, I'm not going to go in there either. So it creates a vicious cycle. I think the businesses need to have a better understanding of what's responsible. We can do that with education. That's certainly something that the City of Boston can do, educate business owners of the potential to succeed in the pratfalls as well. As for linkage monies, again, I think it's great. We talked earlier about the finite resources. The linkage funds for business owners who don't live in the community, is the best service? Is that the best way to send those funds? Can linkage monies be used for other things in Roslindale and Hyde Park? That's a question that needs examination.
Thank you, candidates. Now we will go to question number 3. What are 2 major changes to our schools you would champion if you became our city councilor? And we'll begin with Patrice Catozzi.
Yes, as I've said earlier, I would definitely reduce the cost of transportation and have neighborhood schools, because I think there are many reasons for it. First of all, you need more parents involved in the schools. Time and time again, as the president of the site council, many parents wanted to get involved, but they couldn't. They were just too far away. Their kids, they just couldn't. There's only so much time in the day for energy when you've got kids in different schools. So that would be important, because we need more involvement. And I also think that it reduces the cost, and we can put that into the school system. I would like to see just more arts and more physical education. And the other thing is there's a major policy change too. There are 2,500 K0 and K1 children that get to go to school. The other thousands of children don't get choices because we don't have room. But what happens is that they lock up those seats in those schools. Once they get in, they're in. And then it becomes unfair when you have a lottery system to try to get in those schools that are already locked in because your kid wasn't able to get in as a K4 child, or you didn't even know you could. And so I think that either we do it for everybody or not at all, but those are changes. Thank you.
Tim McCarthy.
Yes, thanks, Glenn. There we go. First and foremost, neighborhood schools is every time I knock on a door, ring a bell, that's what I'm hearing about. I don't want to put my kid on a bus to go to East Boston. I don't want to put my kid on a bus to go to Dorchester. Why can't I just go down the street? You know, I can walk down the street. I want to go to that school. Clearly, we need to continue to push for neighborhood schools as the administration has been. We have the best urban school system in the nation, but we have to continue to push forward to get more kids in local schools. K1 and K2, as Patrice said, is really, really important. Young moms and young dads who are trying to work for a living, daycare is more expensive than half the schools. And if you don't have K1 and you have to stay home, what are we telling these people? We're telling these people that you might as well stay home and not be active in the job world because you can't afford to. You have to stay home. You can't afford to pay for daycare. So clearly, K1 and K2 for everybody throughout the city is an absolute necessity. And secondly, you know, we have 5 levels of schools. You know, level 1 is a grade school. Level 5. How can anybody look in the mirror and say that's a good idea that we have 5 levels of schools? You have to bring these schools up to 1s and 2s, and you need to put the power back into the principal's hands. And it's going to be qualified principals' hands, and that's something that is under immediate review. There's been many principals as of late who are still in school to get their degree that they're supposed to be using to help our children.
And now we go to Jean-Claude Sano.
As I am registering students over at the Boston Public School, which I do on an occasional basis, I'm hearing from the parents the following items. And unfortunately, the majority of the minorities that have children in the school system are seeking forward to after-school program. More of it is certainly deemed necessary. However, in terms of the neighborhood schools, we would have to really do a fairest jobs as far as making sure that all the schools are equipped the way they are supposed to be, so we can exercise the kids going to the neighborhood school to reduce the cost of transportations. If we don't do something as far as I'm concerned, that the schools in Roslindale are much better than the one in Mattapan, then we will always have this whole entire issue. So it's the fairness as far as providing services to all the people within the district, providing them the proper schools that they are needed in order for us to reduce other costs. Otherwise, if there is inequity into the system, the unfairness, the injustice, the social injustice, you will always have this problem in our hands. And unless we solve that first, we won't be able to solve the rest of them. Thank you.
Mimi Churchinette.
So the 2 things that I would do, the first would be to hold the line on charter schools and try to reevaluate the current formula of resources that go from public dollars to the charter schools versus the public schools. My understanding is that the number could potentially be almost double per child, and that's unacceptable. So I would use my office to make sure that we hold the line, that we don't lift the cap on charter schools, and that we stop bashing teachers, because it's not the fault of the teachers. Teachers are working hard to teach our children, and they're being bashed, and it's unacceptable. The second thing that I would do is look at the needs of teen parents who are leaving our schools, getting GEDs, looking at developing a plan and creating a Teen Mother Academy to make sure that young mothers actually get an education, stay in school, can raise their children, can get an education, hopefully don't have to get a GED and get tracked so that they are kind of tracked into poverty. So those are two of the things that I think are key priorities for our schools.
Michael Wells.
So the two things I'd be looking to do is, like mostly the people on this table, we want to see more neighborhood schools. And basically what's that really saying? We're cutting back on busing. Busing, cutting back, cuts back money spent on busing, means you can spend it on after-school programs. You can get technological schools going. You can get more computer science programs going. All kinds of wonderful things that we can do there. The other big thing I want to see is a return to discipline. And this is something I actually see happening in the charter schools. Now, I went to see them, I was fortunate, and I understand that not everyone is as fortunate to afford a private school. However, the same types of rules that I had to, I guess obey, are enforced in these charter schools. There are consequences if you don't do your homework or didn't wear the uniform or got in a fight. And that gives these kids like a little bit of skin in the game, something to lose that you don't necessarily see in the public school system today. Thank you.
Ava Calendar.
So the first thing I would do be to take more of a holistic approach to the Boston public school system and school system overall. And what I mean by that is having more of a partnership between teachers, parents, and students. I know that there are some parents that feel that they want to be more engaged with the teachers, and there are teachers who feel like they need more support as well. So I think if we have more of a system that encompasses that community aspect of that, that would be more beneficial for the students who are in the school system now. As I mentioned before, as a proud Boston public school system, and I was raised by my grandmother, who was also raised my sister and I and worked a full-time job. So it was often hard for her to attend some school meetings and really go up to the school when there were any issues or any questions. So what I wanted to do was really have a different approach to that. Anything as far as calling or emailing, more communication, whether it be in person or not, but more of a holistic approach there. The second thing that I would fight for is more vocational schools within the city of Boston. And that's for those students who are not really looking for colleges or universities, but want to learn a trade or want to learn what to do in order to enter the job field immediately after leaving the school system.
Margarita Champa Coyne.
Yes, the three components that I would focus on, number one, are next generation vocational high schools with private entity partnerships. We're in Massachusetts, we're in Boston, the medical mecca, Mass General, Brigham and Women's. There are programs that are available that teach kids who perhaps, as Ava has said, look for a different avenue. I think those choices should be made available. I'm the mom of three. All kids learn differently. I know that you shouldn't be regulated or considered a lesser student if you don't attend one of the exam schools. There are great opportunities in vocational training. My dad came to this country as an immigrant, became a cabinet maker, a union carpenter. He lived the American dream. Education, that's all we were. That was a stepping stone to success. The other piece of it is, as city councilors, we're actually limited as to what we can do for the school committee. We have a very strong mayoral process. The city council charter is not as strong as it could be. One of my other key points is a hybrid school committee. I really believe that we should have 4 elected and 4 appointed. I can appreciate the fact that the next mayor or the current mayor wants his candidates, his 4 chosen, but I think that parents should have a voice. There should be 4 elected positions. You have choices in so many things. You should be able to choose who best represents you and your children.
Just a reminder for the candidates, please get up close to the mic so people can hear you. And we're going to go to Andrew Casino.
Well, this is the question I wish I had first in this rotation. Clearly, if you go down both sides of the table, everybody has the best interest of the schools in mind. I can sit here and say I want to bring trade schools and arts back into the schools, but it's been said down here too. Community, neighborhood schools, parent involvement. If you're sending your child to East Boston or Dorchester on a bus, how are you going to be able to get there for parent-teacher night if you don't have a car? Or if you're working a full-time job or 2 full-time jobs trying to raise a child on your own. There's no just 2 issues that we can change to fix the schools. And it's something I'm very passionate about, where I went through the Boston Public Schools at the Sumner, the Irving, and West Roxbury High. And it's nice to hear that everybody up here has the best interest of the schools in mind, though.
And now we go to your questions. We will get to at least two of them, and the candidates, so far you have been like majorly time efficient, and we may have time to get to the third question from you. And the first question is this, and we'll be beginning this with Tim McCarthy. What are the top health concerns and disparities in our district, and what will you do as a city councilor to address them? I'll repeat the question because I think some people are having trouble with it. What are the top health concerns and disparities in our district, and what will you do as a city councilor to address them?
Sure. When I ran the Boston Youth Fund from 96 to 2004, I implemented a program which was a summer learning program within the Red Shirt program. So if you were a Boston Red Shirt, we took crews from every neighborhood, we piled them together, we generally sat in a room just like this, and we had nurses and doctors speak to them about health issues and growing up and teens and things like that. So I've been involved in things like this. For me, I'm an asthmatic. So I would say that the ultimate issue in my neighborhood and this issue really rings back to busing. I mean, we have 350 so odd buses parked right down the street from my house. I have asthma. My sons have had little bouts with asthma. Asthma awareness is incredibly important, and it's directly related to the fact that we're not green enough. Last year I won an award from Mass Recycles from a green initiative in municipalities. I think a lot of that stems from that. Again, we get back to Boston Public Schools. As a Boston Public Works employee, I've been trying to crank up a litter program for a long time, and there's just not a lot of funding for it. But the fact that our young kids aren't learning in the classroom about health issues, health awarenesses, their own well-being, dangerous activities. It stems from whether it's video games or whatever people want to blame on. We need to have more intercession in the classroom through the Boston Public Schools.
Jean-Claude Sassoneau.
Sano. Prevention is certainly the best medicines ever there is, but however, it comes along with education. And unless we do that and practice it on a daily basis, we will not be able to even reduce the cost of health care. I'm a diabetic. Luckily, when I was running in 2009, I was a lot bigger. And by running this year, I have really stepped out and really do the work and really seeking to speak with the people. And folks have said, how come you have lost so much weight? And there are some certain theories that I'm very well concerned with. If I can be a role model as a diabetic to a lot of other diabetics, I intended to bring that up front. And we are creating awareness to the people in the city of Boston and find a way to communicate with them properly. Because I think outreach hasn't yet been done properly by the top management at times. And we need to understand the diversity that exists into our community. So we got to go to the different pockets and really outreach so that we can really do it successfully. Because my father and my mother, they both passed away with diabetes and blood pressure. And right there in Mattapan, we all understood that the African American community is really dying from these two elements. How can we best educate them to really understand that they need to do preventions, and the prevention doesn't cost a hell of a lot. So if we can apply that, that would certainly be a way of helping our society. Thank you very much.
Mimi Turchinets.
So the top health concerns in the district, very much about poverty and the disparities. So if you look at the numbers in terms of asthma, diabetes, obesity, some of our communities are doing much worse with that. You have to go to the root cause of that and look at the issue of poverty. Part of what we need to do is work with the Boston Public Health Commission, do walking clubs, work on education, get young people to actually start to participate in bicycling and healthy eating, and then also really support the health centers and support providing resources to make sure that
the children and families are getting access to all of the services they need. And then also go to the root of the issue and start making sure that we address the issues of poverty in the communities. The one thing that is also important, I think, is that we need to go back to a central kitchen for the Boston Public Schools so that we can have healthy food in the schools. Kids are not, they may be getting free lunches and they may have broccoli and carrots, but my understanding is kids are throwing that stuff away. So we need to figure out how to get kids to want to eat good food, so that includes education and varieties of healthy foods, so the kids in schools actually are eating decent food for them.
Michael Wells.
Well, I'd have to admit, I'm a little bit struggling with this question here. Health concerns and disparity. Now, disparity basically means between the haves and the have-nots. So for the have-nots, there are programs out there that help them already. There's East Los, there's a community health care center here in Roslindale Square. I'm not sure if there are one in Mattapan or not, I trust there are. But really it's about education to get the people that need these services to use them. It's no good having that community health care sitting there if people don't know it exists. Ethos, I know, is a wonderful program. They'll come, if you need help making your bed, they'll do it. If you need help getting your groceries delivered to you, you'll do it. All kinds of things, but if people don't know what number to call, who to reach out to, what good does it do? So really, it's about making sure that people know that there is health care out there for them, and bringing it to them, I think, would be the solution to disparity there. Thank you.
Ava Callender.
So the two issues is really about promoting healthy lifestyles and promoting the access that we have within this district. So we do have the Roslindale Health Center. We also have the Mattapan Health Center that serves both Mattapan and Hyde Park. So it's really about awareness and educating the residents within District 5 about what's available, and also having access to healthy food. So that's also, it is a poverty issue. It's about having access. It's about having vendors who are there who will provide healthy food so that you can live a healthy lifestyle, and promoting things like the Greenway and the local parks, and supporting things like Roslindale Green and Clean, things that really go out in the community and really promote healthy lifestyles and promote really investing in our gardening and really just walking around and really beautifying our community as a whole. So I think that's the main components. It's really about improving our awareness and education about what resources are there already, and making sure that the residents know what's there as well. So that's what I would do.
And we go to Margarita Chiampa Coyne.
I do agree with Ava that it's resources, educating folks about what's out there, what's available to them. I think that what I view as most important is we have a lot of programs that focus on young children, the younger folks. We have a lot of programs that focus on older folks, and there's sort of this gap. I think substance abuse is a problem that doesn't have the same amount of resources and attention drawn to it. There are a limited number of, for saying, Hyde Park, there is medical vans. I think the resources are there. I think if people aren't availing themselves to them, then that's a problem. They're not being promoted well, and whether it's a miscommunication, language barrier, they're here, and people should take the opportunity to get to know them better. We should do a better job of promoting them.
Andrew Casino.
I believe part of the question was what were a couple of the concerns that we have for health and disparities in the district?
Yes, it was about what are the top health concerns and disparities in our district, and what will you do as a city councilor to address them?
I can't speak from experience that I know the health issues in the area. I do know that dental is a huge issue. A lot of people don't put an emphasis on how important oral hygiene is, leading to throat cancer, mouth cancer, things like that, and we need to be able to get our children, again, want to brush their teeth, want to eat the right foods that aren't all sugary and full of garbage, which also leads down to what I wanted to mention was health education. We can't sit here and pull the wool over our eyes and say that everything's okay when it's not. We need to try to make sure if we can get the right foods out there, the exercises. I know the city has a bicycle rental program. which is great because you see the full-size bikes, but you don't see any smaller bikes for the children to be able to take to go on those rides with their parents. So small steps like that, I think, can make a big difference.
And the last word on this question goes to Patrice Catozzi.
Great. I would say that obesity is the number one thing in this city, and I know as growing up in the projects, putting food on the table was a big issue because the cheap food isn't the best food. And so you really do need good, healthy food. And I think having the farmers market here with the bounty bucks, and when you can double your amount of produce, that's really good. I think we're now having a lot of community gardens, and I think I applaud that. Article 89 is trying to get city gardens throughout the city, so people will be able to have farms in the city, so it'll be more readily available, and I think that's commendable. I think that one of the things we talked about, vocational education, which I am totally in favor of as well, but we don't teach home ec anymore. We don't teach the kids how to cook and how to eat healthy, and I think that's another part, as well as we've talked about having physical education, and that's important to have it in the school. So I think a lot of that is important. I think another issue is just sexually transmitted disease is very prevalent amongst our teens, and I think that we need to really do a lot more education around that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. And now for the second of the audience questions. Roslindale has seen a renaissance as a desirable location to live and do business over the past 10 to 15 years. At the same time, affordable housing has been on the decline. Do you see a correlation? And is there a way that we can protect as well as to encourage more affordable housing to help Roslindale maintain its low and middle class income base? And we begin this round with Jean-Claude Sano.
It is of an utmost necessity to answer to the need of the people. And affordable housing is definitely one of the key elements that has been bouncing in my ears throughout all this campaign. And not unless we do respond to it, we will certainly have the issue that is called homelessness. And if we don't want that, we're going to have to create that. And we need to take concern as far as our whole entire society, not just the haves, but the haves not as well. Because along the way, we end up paying the consequences and the price for them. So if we fail them, we cannot blame them. So we need to create that and really support them. And creating more affordable housing is something that we need to be aware of in order for us to have a better society. Thank you.
Mimi Turchinet.
So yes, I definitely agree that we need to expand and support affordable housing, specifically in Roslindale, looking at the substation. I know that there's going to be some housing in there. Maybe we can maximize the affordable housing in the substation. Right now with the commuter rail, or excuse me, with the Fairmont line, there's $10 million that's going to be available for economic development for affordable housing and other economic development needs. So let's really make the Boston Foundation, make the Boston Foundation commit to spending that money here in both Roslindale, Hyde Park, and Mattapan for those resources to go to affordable housing. The Southwest Boston CDC right now is working on putting units of affordable housing by the Fairmont line, and I think that that's a very important project. We should be supporting that, and that's something that will increase affordable housing. Looking at additional affordable housing units and especially with the expiring use buildings. Right now, we have lost some expiring use units, especially at High Point. Let's make sure that we stabilize Georgetown, stabilize the other buildings in the community, make sure that we provide the resources that we need for Archdale and for the other that Fairmont and Hyde Park, so that those units stay as affordable units and we don't lose them.
Michael Wells.
Well, I'm glad to hear that Roslindale is so desirable to live in. I've known this for quite a while. When I actually tell people I live in Roslindale, they go, "Oh, really?" So anyway, yeah, there's been a spike in real estate prices. I've seen it go up, and it's the free market. There's not much you can do about that. But as far as affordable houses are concerned, absolutely, this is something that we can work on. And project number one right there is Archdale. I've seen what happens to public housing communities when they get repaired. I live a block away from Beach Street. That wasn't a nice place a while ago. It's a beautiful community now. And Archdale has been long, long overlooked. This place just needs to have happen. What happened to Beach Street needs to happen at Archdale. When they fix that place, they can expand, they can put more buildings in there, get more people in there, and that can help out there. Then when you walk around the neighborhoods, be it Hyde Park, even a little bit of Roslindale too, you'll find that one house that, gee, what happened there? Did someone leave? And maybe the city needs to come in and see what's going on. Maybe that family wants to sell the house and they can convert that into a middle income level home. All good things to think about, but I guess I'm almost going to run out of time, but yes, please. No, Archdale definitely needs to be repaired. Thank you.
Ava Callender.
Thank you. As many of you probably know, Mayor Menino recently released a plan to actually develop about 20,000 new affordable homes within the city of Boston. And that aim was really about maintaining a middle class within this city and this district and making sure that we don't just have a rich and poor class of people. So what I would like to do is really look towards implementing programs that not only give people access to affordable housing, but also educate them on what they can do in order to sustain that housing. And also about education about foreclosures also, because we've been disproportionately affected by the foreclosure crisis. We do have the largest amount of homeowners within the city of Boston, within this district, in District 5 now. So it's really about making sure people know what their rights are, what they can and cannot do, and really knowing about programs that are there to help. Programs like the Harvard Law School initiative that's based in Mattapan, but does help people who are currently going through the foreclosure crisis. So those are some two major aspects. As Michael mentioned, I actually recently visited Archdale Projects. I was there for their Unity Day celebration, and there's really a difference between Archdale and Georgetown, and that really needs to become a question about what we can do to make sure that the housing, the affordable housing throughout the district is equal, that they're having access to really some equal opportunities and having improvements within that housing development.
Marguerite Champa Coyne.
I think that's one of the part of Roslindale's success as being this vibrant community is the fact that now affordable housing is becoming more and more of an issue. I think that the housing stock is the answer for jobs, shopping, education. They're all tied into one. As for maintaining affordable housing, Mayor Menino did come out with a platform of creating over 20,000 units. I think that what a conscious decision has to be made as to what is an affordable housing unit. My professional job, I'm a commercial real estate paralegal. I see it every day where developers are given sort of this whether it's a discount or whatever you want to call it, that a private entity would not get to create affordable or develop units of 50 condominium units, and they're given the reward of saying they're developing affordable units, when of those 50, 2 are affordable. That doesn't really serve anyone well. I think it's completely self-serving to the developer and to the folks who believe that they are creating more units. As for the project, Archdale and Georgetown, there is absolutely a disparity. People should expect more. It's shameful that it exists.
Andrew Corsino.
As I mentioned when I started, I'm a Boston special officer. I've worked in Franklin Hill Apartments. I've worked in Beach Street. I've seen the improvement that these small communities have made as a result of remodeling. People are taking pride in their property. They're planting plants in their front yard. They're having small cookouts. They're not just going home to a brick building in an apartment. I do feel that we should be fixing the problems that we have now before we can say we can start putting more money and more apartments together. even today, while I was out walking, I noticed I walked past a couple Habitat for Humanities. There's one in Navarre Street down by the firehouse in Roslindale, and another one that I found out about was Bradine Street, which is near the Archdale projects. I was going somewhere with this. Stony Brook Village is another place where I don't know exactly what happened, but I do know that they upped their rents and they're not having as many affordable housing units as they used to have. Something like that, something that we can try to look into. But in regards to having the local businesses, again, I feel we need to communicate with the residents to see what they need and what they want and bring those businesses in, because that's how these businesses will succeed.
Patrice Gattosi.
I absolutely think we need affordable housing. We need to, and it needs to be beautiful for each person. Everybody needs the dignity to live in a home it's great. As you said, there are disparities. I think that as I've walked around, I'm really seeing a lot of houses and apartments, and I think they're way overcrowded. I think that I'm seeing a lot of, I think, illegal apartments. But so the need is there. We have a need, and we need to help people. And I know that people are, bringing in family and saying, okay, you can stay with me, but I'm concerned about fire and safety and things like that. So, yes, I do think we need it, and I think we need to bring all the resources, but it has to be in the right place. There was an affordable housing project slated to go on Fairmount in Hyde Park. I thought it was the wrong place. It was a great idea. We needed it, but it was the wrong place because it had no room for children. It was just on the street and had a hill behind. You couldn't even breathe in that place. And so I really studied out all across case studies about affordable housing and what was best. And so I think we just need to do it and do it with dignity. Thank you.
Tim McCarthy.
I agree with what Michael originally said about the Archdale projects. In 1996, when the floods came, I lived in that gym for 3 weeks, and that wasn't very pleasant. But what was pleasant was the fact that that neighborhood in Archdale really is a neighborhood. The BHA, as well as other developments, do need to be stabilized and do need to be repaired. Understood. Beach Street it's really, really nice if you've ever taken a walk through there. The problem I have with the whole situation with affordable housing is there's a difference between affordable housing and houses that are affordable. I know that I bought a house in 1996 with my wife. It's our investment. I care about our neighborhood. If the prices of the houses go up, my investment's going up. That's part of my retirement. I may need that money to pay for college. It's got to be a very delicate balance, and that's the reason why Roslindale is so successful, is because you have some beautiful houses with people who are making some pretty good change.